Step forward for Vatican as Pope says embrace gay and it's not a crime.
Somos todos hijos de Dios. Y Dios nos quiere como estamos y con la fuerza que luchamos cada uno por nuestra dignidad. El ser homosexual no es un delito. No es un delito. Sí, pero es pecado. Bueno, primero, distingamos pecado por delito. Pero también es pecado la falta de caridad con el prójimo. ¿Y vos cómo andás? Cada hombre y cada mujer tiene que tener una ventana en su vida donde pueda volcar su esperanza y donde pueda ver la dignidad de Dios. Y ser homosexual no es un delito, es una condición humana.
Pope Francis criticized laws that criminalize homosexuality as, quote, unjust, saying God loves all of his children just as they are, and called on Catholic bishops who support the law to welcome LGBTQ plus people into the church. Francis acknowledged that Catholic bishops in some parts of the world support laws that criminalize homosexuality or discriminate against LGBTQ plus people. And he himself referred to the issue in terms of, quote, sin. But he attributed such attitudes to cultural backgrounds and said bishops in particular need to undergo a process of change to recognize the dignity of everyone. Francis's comments, which were hailed by gay rights advocates as a milestone, are the first uttered by a pope about such laws. But they are also consistent with his overall approach to LGBTQ plus people and belief that the Catholic Church should welcome everyone and not discriminate. Francis quoted the Catechism of the Catholic Church in saying gay people must be welcomed and respected and should not be marginalized or discriminated against. Wow, you know, this story really hits home for me. I remember one day sitting in the car and my father saying, I forgive you. And I grew up in the church. I grew up in a Baptist Christian home. And he said, I forgive you because like rape, like murder, and these were the two things that he used as the relation, being homosexual is a sin. And but I couldn't help but hear it in the same sentence as rape and murder. Yeah, and I said, wow, okay. I mean, I think you're giving me a compliment, but I don't know. I think this is acceptance, but I'm not sure. And so what I hear this Pope saying, and it was so powerful, what he said was, listen, it's a sin. Okay, if we're going to be God-abiding citizens, if that's what we're doing, and we believe in God, then okay, if you believe so, then this is just a sin like every other sin. Mm-hmm. But it's not a crime.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when people are seeking the light, seeking the word or the structure or the belief of God, then why would we then discriminate against anyone on the path to God? So, wow. Yeah. Hits home. Wow.
Right? And I really wish that this would mean something, this would mean that tomorrow all bishops and people of the church would undergo some kind of strenuous education as to how they should treat the patrons that go to their churches and stuff like that. But, you know, hate has selective hearing, and that's what it is. Right. You know what I mean?
To be clear, you don't think that the bishops that the Pope is talking about will change based on what the Pope said?
No, I don't think they will. I mean, unless they make it mandatory or something like that. Like, I wish that somebody would record this and let every single Latina mom see this, right? Because I would love to show this to my mom and go, look, Mom, the Pope said this, you know? And just like during Trumpism, it's kind of like, no, but that's not really what he meant. You know what I mean?
He made it pretty clear.
He made it pretty clear.
Pretty clear.
Yeah. It's not a crime, and it shouldn't be a crime.
Yeah, and like Josie, you mentioned that oftentimes people equate homosexuality with rape and murder, and it's astonishing. It's astonishing. And, you know, I think with the Pope saying this, at least some people who follow the Pope will, you know, think a little bit longer, and perhaps it may change some views. Obviously, the bishops in the countries that criminalize homosexuality aren't going to change their views, I'm sure, but I think it's definitely a move in the right direction.
This is coming on the heels, too, of the Anglican Church, the Church of England, making its statement about recognizing same-sex marriage. I think that's what it was. Is that right?
Yeah.
And in some instances, we sort of said, well, that's too little too late. But in this instance, it sounds like we're saying this is great. And I'm not sure where I stand on any of this, because does it really matter that the Pope said this? It's still a sin, right? It's still...
Do you think it matters? You personally, does this matter or does it not matter?
I don't think it matters to the people that it needs to matter to.
Exactly.
It's interesting, and the reason I ask you, and I respect your observation and Faye's observation in terms of what she thinks is going to happen. From my seat, and I'm going to aggravate a lot of people, this is a gigantic moment. And the reason it's a gigantic moment is, first off, a quarter of all of the people on the planet identify their leader as the Pope. And when you have Liberty University and you have the Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church in Fort Lauderdale,
And a church that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes.
or the First Baptist Church in Jacksonville, that's a leadership difference. And so this is a gigantic moment. The Pope says, let's take criminalization off the table. That's what he's saying first and foremost. He has to throw in, it was so interesting as I watch him do it. He knows, he's a politician. The Pope is a politician. And so he knows he has to, without having complete rejection in those circles, to say, but we're identifying it as a sin. And when you were talking about it, oh yeah, lying is a sin, adultery is a sin, eating pork on the third Thursday of the month is a sin. And there's lots of sins. But we don't elevate those actions of our humanity to the point where we criminalize them. And that's what he's trying to take off of the table, especially in places that is overwhelmingly Catholic. You know where overwhelmingly Catholic they are? In the Caribbean, and especially in Africa. He's preparing for his mission to Africa, going to Angola and to Congo, which identify like 92% Catholic. And he's saying, your laws for the death penalty are wrong. And
that's
Exactly.
criminal. That's a sin. That's sin, and it's criminal. The distinction, you know.
And that's why this is really a big moment for millions and millions of people that say, please, Pope, say that this is not criminal. And now he's done that. And I just want to remind viewers in the politics of the Catholic Church, before we criticize the Pope, of which there's gigantic criticism over the weekend of this, that he did go far enough. He didn't go far enough. Well, first, can I suggest of the Pope that was just buried of what he said about LGBT? 10 years ago, it was impossible to believe that the Pope would say this, even John. That Pope, impossible. In fact, he would say, let's add criminal punishment. And that's what he would have done. So we're talking about a whole different day in this Pope. Let's give him some credit of the move forward that he's trying to push 1 billion people to do, and the politics. And I remind you, when we don't give him enough credit, in 1994, Bill Clinton tried to more liberalize the policy and therefore created Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He got slammed for that's not enough. But it began to move us to a different place. Then we come along to Barack Obama going no to gay marriage, but I believe in civil unions. And that took us another step forward until Barack Obama could say, through leadership of his vice president, by the way, marriage is okay, which leads us to support in 2015 for gay marriage. Rights are evolutionary. We don't like that, but they are.
The way it is.
And you can't wave a magic wand to say, stop hating us. It doesn't work that way.
It takes time.
Most of the time, we needed the courts to do it for us. The Pope is being our, in a way, federal court, not the Supreme Court yet, to say, come on, we're getting there.
Right.
And we really need to support him and give him a break.
But we won't give anyone a break, and just realize that in the realistic perspective is that we're in the mediation stage. Okay, you know? I just want to make sure that we're still on the same page.
And
Progress, still mediation.
That's right. Still mediation.
Incremental progress.
Yes.
It's still progress.
Yes.
Snail's
We
pace.
can't forget that.
I
Yes.
love that soundbite. It gives me an opportunity to say, we have supported Sunshine for 2 years now. Next month, we will have completed 3 years of our broadcast of Sunshine, our television studios here. Finally, this week, we implement a new, and I'm just announcing it, we haven't even breathed it yet, but you're going to see it just shortly. We believe in talking about faith in LGBT. 80% of the LGBTQ community identify as having faith. You know, some of us at this table do in various different ways. Only 18% of us reflect a specific religious institution. The reason the gigantic disconnect is because of the way we've been treated for our faith in our churches. We're going to do a story on that tonight.
Right.
This week, for February of 2023, we are going to launch a talk show on faith led under Sunshine Cathedral's banner and invite religious leaders in various different denominations come in and talk about where we are and can we open the door and can we heal from what churches have done for us, and can we see the possibility of acceptance? This kind of story will be front and center, where religious leaders like Sunshine, Jewish faith, Episcopal, etc., and others, Catholics, talk about what's next for our LGBTQ community. Because faith, along with trans and seniors and youth and lesbian and Black, faith is one of the core pillars of things that are really important in our community that we should be talking about, because we overwhelmingly identify we have faith, but we overwhelmingly say we're so hurt that we can't project it. And so we should talk about that. And now finally, after 3 years, we're going to do that. Watch and wait. The Sunshine Cathedral and the Faith Show is coming. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.